Stanley, Scuba, Sailing, and Adventures. I appreciate you being here with me to log an entry in the travel journal. If this is your first time, please hit that subscribe button. Today we'll be scuba diving the Cobia cage in Eleuthera. There's no better way to start off a dive than a close encounter with a shark. And this one looks like it's coming in for a pretty close pass. Look at those rays of sunlight coming through. The large structure that you see is the Cobia cage. The Cobia cage is off the coast of Cape Eleuthera, just beneath the surface in these Bahamian waters. It's one of the strangest dive sites in the region. Maybe that's just my opinion. The Cobia cage was once an aquaculture experiment. It's 80 foot wide and 50 foot tall, and it's really kind of a floating pod. It was built to raise cobia fish. The cage is now abandoned and it's tilted, but it's absolutely alive. The sea has begun to reclaim this structure. It's really just a series of netting, metal, and bolts, cables holding it together. If you look closely, you can start to see some of the netting, but from a distance, it almost looks like a solid structure. That's due to all of the growth. To me, it's almost a diamond shape. Very narrow at the top and very narrow at the bottom. Throughout the video, you'll get a sense of the scale of this object. It's really quite large. I didn't go inside, and we were advised not to go inside. There is an opening at the bottom, which appears maybe large enough for a diver to get into. But that mesh is made of wire, and it's quite jagged and sharp. From the research I did, I discovered that the Cobia cage was originally built through a collaboration between the Island School and the University of Miami. The cage once held juvenile cobia that were raised for sustainable food programs. What I read was that sharks damaged the netting and the design proved too challenging to maintain, and thus the project was ultimately abandoned. And here, as you can see, nature's taken over. In my opinion, it's strange, beautiful, and maybe even a little eerie, but an absolutely unforgettable dive. There are a variety of fish, and you can see a couple parrotfish here. I'm not close enough to see what kind they are. And then we have a great barracuda circling outside. I love to watch the barracuda swim. I love that silver color. And as this barracuda comes by, you can see the sunlight reflecting off of his scales, and they shimmer in the sunlight. Note the size of the tail compared to the rest of the fish. We still have a couple reef sharks circling about in the distance. I think that's maybe what the other divers were checking out over there in the sand. Here I'm below the center line of the Cobia cage, and you can get an idea of the scale of this cage compared to my dive buddy. I'm not sure if the dimensions I gave were correct. It seems much larger to me, but that's what I found. Can't pass up the opportunity to watch the reef sharks swim by. We have quite a few circling, I'm not sure how many. And this unsuspecting diver doesn't realize there's a reef shark swimming right behind him. This is dive 10 in this 19-part dive series. Live aboard scuba diving in the Bahamas, departing from Nassau, cruising and diving in the Exumas, Eleuthera, and returning to Nassau. This is the first dive of the day on day 3. So after a long 15-hour surface interval, I was back in the water. This dive started at exactly 8:30 in the morning and lasted just about 52 minutes. I recorded an average depth of 49 feet and a maximum depth of 73 feet. My dive computer reported an average water temperature of 80 degrees Fahrenheit. That metal triangle is dangling from the bow of our ship, and it's filled with dead fish. That helps attract the sharks. I think it may also be attracting this school of spadefish. Looks like I have a great barracuda coming in for a closer look at my camera rig. Not sure if that's the same barracuda as before. I'm going to see if I can join up with this school of spadefish. Often they'll let you join up with the school, and they kind of seem to swim in circles. At least that's been my experience when I encounter them. These are actually called Atlantic spadefish, and they range in size from 1 to 1.5 feet, reaching a maximum of 3 feet. So they can be quite large. They're usually found in depths of water from 10 to 70 feet. Their distinctive features are the body shape and the several dark bars. To me, they're unmistakable once you've seen them. the Atlantic spadefish. They seem to be headed away from me now, but if they maintain the same behavior or pattern, they'll turn and make a circle around me. Here we have a queen triggerfish. I'm not sure we're going to get any closer to this one. As I move away from the cobia cage to go explore in the sand, again you get an idea of the scale of this object. You can compare it to the size of my dive buddy here. Massive, massive object. Here we have the invasive lionfish. Lots of massive barrel sponges here. It's my understanding that they grow very slowly, and it's possible that these barrel sponges, the bigger ones at least, are probably over 100 years old. Probably here long before the cobia cage. Here we have another queen triggerfish. The queen triggerfish range in size from 8 to 16 inches, reaching a maximum of 2 feet. They're most often found in depths of water from 10 to 50 feet. The distinctive features of the queen triggerfish include the extended tips on the rear dorsal and tail fin. Also note the 2 blue stripes on the face. Also, if you look closely, you can see small lines radiating around the eyes. This is the queen triggerfish. And there's another. With this close view, you really get an idea of those extended tips on the rear dorsal and tail fin. Look how long they are. As I move back up the support cable toward the cobia cage, you can see that the visibility has started to degrade a little bit. I think we have a bit of a storm kicking up. The Cobia cage must have survived many storms by now. Again, look at the scale of the cage compared to the diver in front of it. We still have the reef sharks circling behind us. Might have something to do with that triangle full of dead fish. As I come in closer, you can really begin to see the detail of this growth. We even have some brain coral here. Here's a closer shot of some more brain coral. An incredible amount of growth here. There's the top. And when we look underneath, it almost, well, I don't think almost, I think it really appears that there's a lot more growth underneath the cage, which seems a little counterintuitive to me, because I would expect to see more growth where there's more sunlight. Here's a better shot underneath. Look at all of that hanging down off of the cage. And then if we look back up here on top, there's not nearly as much growth. Here's a look up at our boat, and I think the boat's about 128 feet long. So again, I don't know if that helps provide any reference for the scale of this cobia cage. Again, there's our triangle or pyramid hanging from the front of our vessel, filled with dead fish to attract the sharks. We'll take a look at the very top of the cobia cage here as I get ready to head up to the boat for a surface interval. And here we are at the very top of the cobia cage. This is liveaboard diving in the Bahamas. Another great dive.
Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment.